you want to dim the lights a little bit? Maybe you can see the screen a little better.
We'll give it a try.
Is that a little better?
Yeah.
Okay, how's my sound? Way in the back, I want to know. The gorgeous lady, blonde lady, way back there. Can you hear it okay? And am I blowing you out with too much volume over here? Okay, good. Well, we're going to talk today, and if you want to, you can move, because you might have a problem seeing the screen through the speaker. You're good? Okay. Well, our program today is Spooky Goddesses. And, you know, it's kind of interesting if you look at superheroes today. You'll see like, guy. One lonely gal there, right? And another guy. But, if you look at the ancient world, their superheroes were their gods and goddesses. And if you look at the ancient world, the goddesses greatly outnumbered the male gods in just about every culture around the world. And these goddesses were very important role models for people in society in terms of what was the best way and the models that they should act. Now today, if you're looking at female role models and you watch them in the movies, you usually see something kind of like this.
Because I got a few moves I know you'll like.
Got it.
Colonel Phillips.
You're coming with me.
Boss?
Well, you know, that's all well and good, but we're going to explore some coping skills beyond punching people in the face. Well, one of the important things to remember about these female role models is, you know, nobody said they're perfect goddesses. They make a lot of mistakes, and the idea was that people would learn just as much from their mistakes they made and the bad things as the good things that they did. Now, these are all authentic stories and myths. I have updated them, which is okay, but in the ancient retellings of these myths, it wasn't unusual for them to update it a little bit for contemporary times, and I've done that. So we're going to go all around the world looking for these various goddess supermodels, superheroes, I should say. And the first place we're going to stop is over in ancient Egypt. Now in Egypt, they had a lot of gods and goddesses. It was like, you know, Egyptian deity palooza, right? Tons of them. And they all tended to have these kind of animal heads, and that was kind of their shortcut. I mean, if you look at Christianity and you want to see someone that was considered to be in heaven or such, they always have like wings on them, or they got a halo or a light behind them. Well, their shorthand to show that rather than wings and the lights and all that stuff was to put an animal head on someone. And we're going to talk about a particular goddess. Her name was Sekhmet. Now, Sekhmet was the goddess of healing. But she could be kind of a grumpy goddess and a bad temper. So to kind of channel this kind of aggression, they also gave her another role to be this warrior goddess of vengeance. Now, in Sekhmet's temple, it was very often frequented by people because she was the goddess of healing. So if someone was sick or injured, they would go to make an offering to help that person recover and get better. And when they were done making their offering, there was a little kind of annex off to the side that was just full of cats. And people would go in there and pet the cats and feed the cats and play with the cats. Well, the Egyptian priest over in Sekhmet's temple, and also the other temples for the other gods as well, one day said, hey, stop making your prayers and offerings to these gods and goddesses. Make them directly to us. Because you kind of thought that these gods over there in Egyptian heaven were doing all that stuff for you, but the whole time it was us. We had these magic spells and incantations, and all along we were using them to heal people and do all this good stuff to give you good luck and good fortune. So give us the money and give us the credit. Well, they didn't like this up in Egyptian heaven. What to do? Hey, these people are cutting us out. These middlemen are coming over here and they're taking credit for us and taking our offerings. What should we do? I got it. Let's go to Sekhmet, the goddess of vengeance. She'll take care of them. So they went to Sekhmet, the goddess of vengeance. I said, you got to do something about this, Sekhmet. And she said, no, thank you. Kindly find someone else. You see, on my last doctor visit, he said my blood pressure was starting to creep up, and all this aggravation is not good for me. So I've been taking yoga lessons. And I've been working with my yoga teacher on these meditation and these relaxation exercises to kind of mellow myself out. But they said to Sekhmet, don't you know that they're taking your offerings rather than giving them to you? Oh, that's okay. There's plenty to go around. And don't you know they're taking credit for the healing that you're doing? And she said, I don't need credit. As long as the people are healed, I'm happy. Well, do you know what they're saying about you? You know those people, those priests down there are saying that you eat your own kitty litter? Oh, that did it. Sekhmet really got mad. She said, tell me where I can find those priests. I'm going to get them. But before she could leave Egyptian heaven, she was intercepted by her yoga teacher, who said, wait, Sekhmet. We don't want to undo all this good stuff we've been working on. So when you feel yourself getting angry, I want you to start doing your deep breathing exercises and repeat this phrase again and again. Keep calm and be diplomatic. Keep calm and be diplomatic. So Sekhmet goes down to earth there, and she starts at her own temple there. And there's a person there stopping her at the door, some little guard. And he says, oh, you can't come in there. Sekhmet said, this is my temple. Wait, I'll announce you. And the guard says, oh, priestess, some mangy, smelly feline is here to see you. Oh, Sekhmet got mad. And her claws were coming out. She took about 3 steps towards this guard, and all of a sudden, she remembered. She started doing her deep breathing exercises and started saying to herself, keep calm and be diplomatic. Keep calm and be diplomatic. So she kind of pushes her way past the guard, and gets into the temple, and there's that priestess there. And Sekhmet confronts her, and the priestess says, oh my, look what the cat dragged in. Oh, Sekhmet started to get mad, and her claws started coming out, and she started coming after, and then she started doing her deep breathing exercises and saying her phrase, keep calm and be diplomatic. And then the priestess said to her, is it true that you eat your own kitty litter? Oh, that did it. Oh, that did it. She went after that priestess and all the other ones in the temple, and she went around and she bit them all in the butt. And then she got a taste of blood. And once she got a taste of blood, she couldn't stop. She was going to go around and bite everybody in the entire world in the butt. And that's what she started to do.
Ooh, ow, ow, oh, ooh, ow, no, ow, ooh, ooh,
Oh, she really got that last guy, right? Well, this was causing a panic all around the world. So up in Egyptian heaven, now they were in a tizzy. Oh my God, Sekhmet's running amok. We didn't think she'd go this crazy, do this kind of stuff. What do we do? Well, Horus was a worried warrior, but he always calmed down once he had a beer. So he said, time for a brewski. And beer was a very ancient drink, because beer was always safe to drink because the process of making it pasteurized it. It killed all the germs. So he's downing this beer, and he says, I need some more. So Horus says, we need a lot of beer. And Anubis said, we need a lot of beer. And Horus said, good, we'll have a kegger, right? And Anubis said, no, don't drink the beer. I got another idea. We're going to put it in big vats, all the beer we could find, and we're going to stain it blood red with pomegranates. And we'll put it out there, and Sekhmet in her blood rage will think it's vats of blood. And she'll go to drink this blood, and it's really beer, and if she has enough of it, blood, right? Stop her vengeance thing. So sure enough, they lay out these big vats of beer dyed red, and Sekhmet comes across it. And she said, blood that has a head on it, right? And she starts drinking. Pretty good, right? Have another. And she has another. And pretty soon, she was blotto, right? She was out. Well, worked, but now they got into another tizzy in Egyptian heaven. Uh-oh, what's going to happen when Sekhmet wakes up and find out we tricked her like that? She's not going to be too thrilled. She's going to come up here and start biting all of us into the butt. And then Osiris, the god of agriculture, said, no, do not worry, I have the solution. I've spread my special plant, catnip, all around Sekhmet. So when she wakes up, she'll be all mellowed out. And sure enough, Sekhmet woke up, and she was all mellowed out from the catnip. And she says, well, it's time to put away the goddess of vengeance hat, and I'm going to put on my goddess of healing hat. And I'm going to go around, and I'm going to heal everybody I've bit in the butt. Even those priests and priestess, as long as they promise not to pull that kind of shenanigan again, I'll heal them. Well, what kind of lesson did this role model teach the Egyptian people? Vengeance is never an end to troubles. It is only the beginning once you start that cycle of violence. And the Egyptian people learned this lesson well, because it was actually one of the most stable and peaceful of civilizations that ever existed. It was over 2,000 years, and they never had a major civil war. They had a large army, but 90% of the time it was only used for defensive purposes. Our next story, how's my sound, by the way? Can you hear me still in the back?
Yep.
Comes from Japan. And it's the story of the Japanese goddess Amaterasu. Now, Amaterasu was one of the most beautiful goddesses of all time, but she never knew she was beautiful. She never ever saw her reflection in a mirror, so she never knew she was beautiful. Now, her role was be the goddess of sunlight. And it was said, and you know how beautiful she is? Plants leap out of the earth just to see her, and the flowers are always begging her to kiss them. Animals and people feel happy when they see her shining face, and when she touches the water, it shimmers with joy. And when she touches the ice, it sparkles like 1,000 stars. Well, Sekhmet had a brother, Susanoo, who is the god of thunder. But he caught a lot of grief, because even though he was supposed to be this big, tough god of thunder, he had the name Susanoo. And everybody used to kid him and say, oh, big tough, here's the god Susie. Susie, 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 god of thunder. And he hated that. So one day they were really ribbing him about that, and he was in a fury. And Amaterasu was with her handmaidens, making a beautiful tapestry on a loom. And Susanoo burst in and smashed the loom and tore up the tapestry. And Amaterasu was, I've had it, she said. I work so hard every day trying to give sunlight to people. My brother comes in, doesn't appreciate me, smashes my loom, tears up our beautiful tapestry, and she went off in a deep, dark cave to sulk. But when she went, she took all the sunlight with her, and the world got dark and cold, and the plants started to wither, and the people started to panic. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do? What will we do? And the wise men said, don't panic. We have a plan. We know Amaterasu's in that dark cave, but we know that she just loves parties. So what we're going to do is have a huge party outside the cave to draw her out. We'll build a giant bonfire, and we'll surround the area with mirrors to reflect the light so it's nice and bright. And we'll have the best food there, and the best musicians, and we'll call Izumi, the goddess of dance, to lead us in dance and lead us in song. And they started this wonderful party. And Izumi started dancing. And everybody was having just a marvelous time. They were eating the food, and they're singing, and they're dancing with Izumi, and the party's going on and on. But Amaterasu wasn't coming out of the cave. So Izumi says, I got to do something to really get this party going. So she whispers some instructions to the musician to change the music. And she starts going. And she starts letting down her top. And then she starts lifting up her skirt to show some ankle. And there were these old geezers in the back. And they start going, hey, yeah, go girl, go girl, go, 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 go. And everybody's going, go, 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 go. And Amaterasu bursts out of the cave. And she says, what is going on here? What is the meaning of this? And then she froze in her tracks. And she said, who is that beautiful woman there? That's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. Someone, what is her name? Please introduce me. And they all said, that's you, Amaterasu. That's you. You're seeing your reflection in the mirror. And Amaterasu looked, and she couldn't believe that she was that beautiful. And then she let out a smile. And some little sparks of light came out. And then she let out a laugh. And when she laughed, the entire countryside was now bathed in warm sunshine. And the people cheered and cheered. And they said, Amaterasu is back. It's warm again and it's bright again. And her brother Susano came over and said, I've enrolled in anger management classes. And I've built a beautiful loom for you, and you can make the nicest tapestries with that now. And Amaterasu promised that she would not leave the Japanese people in darkness again. And she took on her as her symbol the crane, which mates for life, to show the faithfulness. And in return, the Japanese people agreed to name the country after her, the land of the rising sun, and put her emblem on the flag. Well, what did the Japanese people learn from this lesson? When an individual feels bad and hides in their cave, bring them out by helping them to see their true beauty and value. Also, Amaterasu leaves a spark of her light inside each person when they are born. That light shines outward whenever you smile. That's why it's traditional in Japan when they greet someone, they bow but they also smile to let out a little spark of light and love from Amaterasu to the person that they're greeting. Our next story, is my sound still okay? Comes from India, and it's the story of Kali and her battle with the demon. Now, Kali, in India, they didn't use animal heads or halos or wings. Instead, they would give multiple arms, and that was their shortcut code to say someone was a deity, someone who was supernatural. Kali was the goddess of motherly compassion. But in addition to that, she had another role. She was a mom that could take care of herself, because she was also the master of fighting weapons. Now, when she wasn't busy with these roles, the way that she liked to relax in her spare time was to take a big glass of wine and get out her DVR recorder there and play reruns of her favorite television show, which was Ellen. Oh, she loved it. And her favorite part of the show was the very beginning of the program where everybody would get up and dance. And Kali would get up in front of the TV and she'd start dancing, right? And she'd dance through the entire program. So her husband Shiva would come home and she'd be dancing and Shiva would say, hey, what's for dinner, Kali? Well, she'd just be dancing. And Shiva would say, well, is there something on the refrigerator I could put together? She'd just be dancing. Well, maybe we can go out to a restaurant. And she'd just be dancing. And Shiva would just sigh. She just knew her wife was his wife was just the dancing queen. Well, the other thing about Kali was she had a very long tongue. And she was kind of self-conscious about it because whenever she ate at some of these banquets up in Indian heaven, people would whisper how different she looked with that big long tongue. Well, one day on Earth, a bad demon appeared by the name of Raktabija. Started causing a lot of trouble. So Kali was just sitting down with her pussycat, was going to put in another rerun of Ellen, when all of a sudden, oh, the doorbell rang. Oh, it's Kali. I just thought to watch my program here, so I'm going to door. So she goes over there, and all these people are there saying, Kali, 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 you have to help us. There's a demon down there causing all kinds of problems. You have to come over and help us right away. And Kali was saying, but I just got my glass of wine poured, and I was going to watch a nice show of Ellen. Oh, okay, this won't take too long, I guess. So she goes over and she sharpens up some of her best swords. And decides to take her pussycat with her to get a little bit of exercise. And goes down to Earth, and she had no problem finding this Raktabija demon. And goes to town on him, and she said, this guy's a wimp. I shoot some arrows in his head, and my pussycat's biting him on the butt there. This will be quick business. But when she was fighting the demon, she cut the demon, and a drop of the demon's blood fell to the ground, and it jumped, and it appeared as another demon. And she was now fighting two demons. And she's fighting the two demons, and when some more drops of blood fell on the ground, another demon popped up. And then more drops and more demons, until finally she was fighting an entire army of demons that just kept multiplying as these drops of blood would hit the ground. And she said, what will I do? What will I do? And then she got an idea. This stray dog was there and started lapping up some of these drops of blood. And she says, hey, I got this big long tongue. Between my big tongue and all the stray dogs here, we should be able to lap up these drops of blood that are multiplying the demons. And that's what they did. They went to town and they started lapping up the blood. The demons saw they were defeated and they started running away saying, we're defeated, don't hurt us anymore. Well, the people all cheered. Kali defeated all of the demons. And they said, Kali, we need to celebrate. How should we honor you? What should we do to celebrate? And Kali said, oh yeah. They put on the music and Kali started to dance. And she danced harder than she ever danced before. Earth started to shake and shake and shake. She was so dancing so hard. And then it was an earthquake and people started to get fearful. So Shiva came down from heaven and he said, I gotta protect the earth. So he jumped under Kali to shield the earth. But now Kali was trampling on Shiva. And he knew it was tough to get her attention, so he was going to wait till the music stopped. The music stopped, and the DJ just put on more songs. And she was trampling him. So he says, I got to get her attention, but this is going to be hard. So he rang his bell. But Kali just kept dancing. He blew his trumpet to get her attention, but she just kept dancing. He gave her a big glass of wine. Uh-oh, no, she just kept drinking and dancing on him at the same time. Finally, he had an idea, and he shouted out as loud as he could, Ellen's on TV now. Stop the music, Kali said. I gotta go watch Ellen. And she got right back up there to Indian heaven just in time to watch her episode of Ellen. Well, what kind of lesson did this teach the people of India? It's okay to be different. She had that big long tongue. Those differences can be your greatest strengths. You use that tongue to help save mankind. And then the other thing, of course, that she taught the Indian people is unity and diversity. India is a continent with great diversity, with a lot of differences. And the Indian people pride themselves that they have all these different religions and all these different cultures there, and they can still live together. And of course, the third thing that she taught them was sometimes you just feel like dancing. And dance has always been a very important part of Indian culture to this day. Our next story is from ancient Wales. And it's the story of the Welsh goddess, Ceridwen. Now, Ceridwen had a son, Afagdu. And Afagdu wasn't really the most handsome boy. As a matter of fact, some people said he kind of looked kind of like a... Yeah. And so Ceridwen used to worry and worry and worry about her son, that he was going to grow up and people were not going to treat him well and he wasn't going to be respected because of his looks. So she went through all of her magic books, since she was a sorceress, to find a spell to help him. And finally she found one that she thought would be perfect. It would make him the wisest man in the world. And certainly they would respect the wisest man in the world. So she looked at the potion and she needed the wart of a frog and the eye of a newt and some toe jam from Josh Allen's sneaker, and she put that all in the pot. But when she got to the last line of the recipe, she was kind of worried because it said, it's going to foam after a year. And you have to be right there when it foams to consume it, or then the potion becomes inactive. And then it said after that it has to be stirred for 1 full year. And she says, well, I can't stand here stirring this pot. I got to look after Afagdu and all this other stuff. So she found a young boy to stir the pot and an old man to feed the fire. And she said to them, if you do this for a year, I'll give you enough gold to last you the rest of your life. And they did this. And after a year, the young boy noticed all of a sudden the pot was going to start to foam, and it looked like it was ready. And he got all excited and called out for Ceridwen, but in his excitement, he accidentally kicked the pot, and it splashed on his hand. And when it was so hot, he licked his hand, but he consumed the potion. And now the magic was gone, and the pot boiled over and burst. But now the little boy was the wisest person in the world. He knew right away Ceridwen would be furious with him because he ruined all of the work. So he knew all of these potions and incantations. So he said to himself a magic spell, and he turned himself into a rabbit to run away. But Ceridwen turned herself into a greyhound and chased the rabbit and chased the boy. So just when the greyhound looked it was going to clamp down on the rabbit, he had an idea, and he saw a pond there. And he said another magic spell, and he changed himself into a fish. Jumped in the water. But Sir Ridwin changed herself into an otter right away and chased the little boy as the fish, trying to get him. But just when it looked like the otter was going to get the fish, the little boy came up with another spell, leaped out of the water, and changed himself into a little bird. And sure enough, Sir Ridwin changed herself into a hawk and went after that little bird. And he didn't know what to do. The hawk looked like it was getting close to getting him. And then he flew over a barn that was full of wheat. And he had another idea. He recited another spell and turned himself into a tiny grain of wheat. And it fell into the barn among thousands of other grains of wheat. And he said, how's Sir Ridwin going to get me now? But then he heard a noise. Uh-oh. Sir Ridwin turned herself into a chicken and was pecking through those grains looking for that little boy. And he said, she's going to get me eventually. So he got another idea. Oh, I know, is Sir Ridwin loves little babies. That's her soft spot. So he turned himself into the cutest little baby you could imagine. Oh, and Sir Ridwin saw that and it just melted her heart. And she said, I can't harm this little baby. And it was an accident that she consumed the potion. So, well, I'm going to give him another potion that'll cancel out the first one and give him some other gifts. And she set him, the little baby, adrift in a basket with a magic spell. And he was picked up by a childless prince and princess who took him back to raise in the castle. And he grew up to be very, very talented. He turned out to be the Welsh poet Taliesin, who composed the song Greensleeves and many, many other famous ballads. And he had a pet corky that was dear to him. And this was picked up all through royalty in history. That's why the House of Windsor had the corgis, and that's why Queen Elizabeth had corgis as her pets. Well, what about poor Fagdu? Well, he didn't need no magic potions. He was a pretty smart little guy himself. He read every little book he could get his hands on, and he turned into the wisest one in the kingdom that everybody came to for advice, and he was greatly respected. Well, what lesson did this teach the people of Wales and Great Britain? Wisdom is more valuable than beauty. Now, Sir Ridwin could have had a spell to turn Fagdu into someone who was very handsome, but she thought it'd be more important and be more respected if he was wise. And the people of the British Isles took this to heart because they founded the oldest universities in the Western world, in Oxford and Cambridge. Our next story comes from the Babylonian Empire. Let me stop and get a sip of water. And we're going to hear the story of the Sumerian goddess Inanna. Sometimes she's called Ishtar. We'll call her Inanna. Here's a poem that was written by Eduyana, who was the daughter of the king. And she was commissioned to be the high priestess of Inanna's temple. That's how important Inanna was. And she wrote this poem back in 2300 BC. Lady of all powers in whom light appears, radiant one beloved of heaven and earth, tiara-crowned priestess of the highest God, my lady, you are the guardian of all greatness. And the thing that I just read you there is the oldest authored text known to man. The oldest author in the world, or known author in the world, is a woman. That woman priestess who headed up the temple. And that's the oldest known thing known. Many stories were written about Inanna, but the most famous is her descent into the underworld. Now, Inanna was a twin. She had a twin sister, Erishkigal. And growing up, these gals bickered and bickered and bickered. They were always jealous of each other's possessions. So when they got older and it came time to give them some kind of god duties, the chief god said, we got to separate these gals as much as possible. So we're going to make Inanna queen of the moon, and we're going to make Erishkigal the queen of the underworld. Now, as the queen of the moon, Inanna was granted many gifts and many powers. They were called the 7 symbols of civilization. Her veil gave her some powers. Her tiara gave her other powers. Her necklace, other powers. Her scepter, the cloak that she wore. But no matter how many of these symbols and powers they gave her, she was always jealous, and she thought Erishkigal probably has more powers. I bet you they gave her 8 or 9 powers rather than mine. And she always had her ear down to the floor, trying to listen to the underworld to figure out what her sister was doing, and if she had more than she had. And finally she made up her mind that she was going to go down to the underworld and find out for herself. But she was stopped by her BFF friend, her best friend, right? Ninshubur, Queen of the East. And she said, hold it, Inanna. You can't go down to the underworld. Don't you know there's a law? Anybody going down to the underworld cannot return. They have to stay down there forever. But Inanna's husband was Tamuzi. Nice eye candy, but not the brightest guy in the world. He said, you're the queen of the moon. You can do anything you want. Don't worry about rules. Rules don't apply to you. Go ahead down there and I'll handle everything while you're gone. So Inanna goes down to the gate of the underworld and finds it. And she starts pounding on the gate. Open the gate, she says. I am Inanna, queen of the moon. I demand entrance into the underworld. Well, Erishkigal was down there. Oh, and she's saying, I got this splitting migraine, headache, and someone's banging on that stupid door. What is going on? And the guard comes down. There's some woman that says she's queen of the moon and demands entrance. And Erishkigal said, that's my sister. You go tell her to go. Wait, I got an idea. And she whispers some instructions to the guard. So he goes back up and he opens the door. She says, come on in. And Inanna looks in and she saw darkness and demons. She got a queasy feeling in her stomach, but she couldn't back out now. So she started down the steps. And it was dark, pitch black. And she heard a laugh. And someone stole her magic tiara. And she went down further. And she heard another laugh. And someone stole her magic cloak. And she went down further. There was another laugh. And someone stole her magic scepter. And by the time she got to the bottom, they had stolen all of her symbols of civilization. They had stolen all of her powers. And she was powerless, walking in a daze there in the underworld. And Erishkigal saw her and said, oh, not so hot without all of your powers. Let me show you some of mine. I'm going to blow a magic breath on you. And I'm going to put you to sleep for 1,000 years. Toss her on that pile of corpses to sleep. Well, meantime, up in Babylonian heaven, her best friend Ninshubur was worried that she never came back. So she's going to all the other gods, we have to help Inanna, we have to help Inanna. And they said, whoa, we got laws, we got rules, everybody knows the rules. You go down to that underworld, you can't come back, that's her tough luck. But Ninshubur knew that Inanna had a favorite uncle by the name of Enki. So she went to Enki and pleaded her case. He said, okay, I'll help her. So he called 2 of his servants over, and he gave these servants some magic bread and some magic wine.